what we call these, like, typically say young developers who are, think Mongo's cool, don't even know about Oracle.
Yeah, so Oracle is engaged in a number of initiatives around reaching the next generation of developers. Honestly, it's tough going, and we've got catching up to do, but we have an Oracle Academy program that has connections with hundreds of universities and thousands of professors, helping them build curriculum around Oracle, relational database generally, SQL generally. We are going to meetups, reaching out into these open source communities and letting them know that our offerings are getting stronger and more viable for them. So for example, there's now a Node.js driver. So you can build JavaScript applications against the Oracle database through this driver. So we're getting a lot of the pieces in place so that so developers who are new to Oracle, new to SQL, will be able to engage in the technology with a much lower barrier to entry than has ever been possible before. And of course, cloud database is going to be another very big part of that.
That sounds great, yeah. So the question is like, how do we make SQL cool? I mean, so this is the YesSQL conference. I think it's one step. It's like, how do we make SQL cool again? And should we? I think it seems obvious we should because it's ubiquitous. I mean, like, if 90% of developers deal with databases, like, we should be making SQL cool or keeping it cool. Okay, last question. Anybody else want to chip in on that? Okay, last question. So what is Oracle doing to fin off NoSQL and maybe Hadoop? Like, what are functionalities are we adding? Maybe sharding or JSON support?
Yeah, okay, I'll take that. Over the years, whenever interesting new ideas have popped up in the database space, one of the interesting things is because Oracle and relational databases in general have this declarative language, the SQL language, and customers write applications at the SQL level, we are free to innovate in the infrastructure of the database, with our query optimizer, our access methods, our parallel query, all that stuff. We are free to change widely, and as long as it makes your SQL applications run faster and with better performance, customers love it. And so a lot of the ideas that have come out over the years, like parallel query in the 80s, and clustering, scalable clustering technologies, and now sharding, are all transparent in the infrastructure of the database, and we are free to add them to Oracle, and customers will get the advantages of interesting ideas. Like sharding is something that everybody's all excited about now. That's what makes you web scale, supposedly. Well, in Oracle 12 CR2, we're introducing sharding to the product, and it's, as always, going to be completely transparent to your application. So all those applications you wrote over the years can now be sharded. Now, sharding is actually one of these things where if you want the highest performance, actually, you have to actually not be completely transparent to your application, because you have to give us the shard key and tell us, which shard you want this operation to be acted against. But we also give you a way of just saying, here's a SQL statement, Oracle, you just figure out which shards have the data and go do it for you. So we'll do that as well. But sharding is a good example of something we're assimilating into Oracle, and that supposed advantage of NoSQL will go away with 12CR2. We've also added things like JSON. That's in 12CR1. And so the relational model is very flexible, and a lot of these supposed advantages of NoSQL systems are just going to be assimilated into Oracle databases. So customers who want JSON, they want schemaless, they want sharding, whatever, all that's coming along with Oracle SQL, and Oracle relational databases are including pretty much everything that people think is interesting about NoSQL. So, most developers, I think, will be very happy with what they get with Oracle versus NoSQL database, because they get all the functionality of SQL, and they get a standard interface and all the other benefits of SQL, as opposed to going with NoSQL, where whichever NoSQL engine you code against, you lock yourself in forever. There's no standards, and people used to really not like being locked into products, to individual products, especially in this space where the vendors are likely not to be around in 5 years. So anyway, yeah, I think customers, one of the nice things about relational databases is they do absorb any good idea that comes up in any competing data management area.
Thanks. Okay, we're coming up on time. I think it's almost like about 3 minutes till 12:10. I think that's lunchtime. Are there any final comments people would like to add? So SQL ever going to go away? Can anything ever replace SQL? Is that possible?
I think, like you said, the word, Graham put it, quoted Larry, we are in a fashion industry, and, 3 or 4 years ago, SQL went out of fashion. I think SQL is coming back into fashion. The Hadoop community is all behind SQL. It's definitely cool again. I don't think there's any question about that. And I think the NoSQL stuff is actually becoming less cool. It's all going through cycles, and SQL is now on the upswing again. The NoSQL stuff is now going back on the downswing, and but again, NoSQL and SQL have coexisted for 40 years, and they'll coexist for the next 40 years as well.
So you can now have sharding in red.
Any other comments? I think that's a great way to end it, because now SQL's getting cool again. That's what I heard.
Yes.
Okay, thank you all for coming. I think it's a lunch break here. Thank you all for coming. Thanks, Andy, for taking the time to come talk to us.